In the Blender community, some people will argue that particle systems are dead. However, if you are using particle systems in your projects, the key to achieving the results you want lies within a few adjustments and settings in the particle properties. In this video we are going to look into how to set up a particle system that will generate this falling leaves. This scene is in the herbal toothpaste product animation. I posted a breakdown video of the whole animation, but it did not really clarify how this particular scene was created. We are going to create a particle system, then add different leaves to it. Slow down the falling. Add some randomness to the leaves. Mess with gravity, and finally, set keyframes to decide when to start and end the emission of the leaves. We shall also look into how to create brush bristles with hair particle system. Let us begin. I have prepared this scene for the purposes of demonstration. These here are the leaves, they are placed in their collection which is also called leaves. This is a toothbrush that has shortened bristles. You can also see that teeth have grown on the toothbrush. If you want this scene to follow along, it is available for free on Patreon, there is a link in the description. Let's get back to business. Firstly, create an emitter object. Go to Add, Mesh, then Cylinder. On the cylinder, vertices to be 10, radius to be 0.5, and depth to be 3. Go to Front Orthographic View, press R for rotation, then 90. Move the cylinder on the Z-axis, and on X-axis this way. Rename this cylinder to be Emitter. When Emitter is still selected, go to Particle Properties, and add a new particle system. Rename it to Leaves. If you play animation, you can see the particle system is working. Reduce the number from 1000 to 500. Adjust the frame start value so that the emission of particles begin at frame 20. It is now time to replace these white balls with different objects. In our case we want them to be the leaves. Go to Render, Render As. Instead of Halo, choose Collection. Then here at Instance Collection, choose the collection that has the leaves. If you play animation, you can see some tiny objects, those are the leaves. Increase the size by adjusting scale here. Make the scale 0.5, and scale randomness to be 0.5 as well. Now if you play the animation, the leaves are now bigger. The leaves are falling down too fast. To slow them down, go to Physics, then expand Integration, reduce time step value to 0.01. And if you play the animation you will see the leaves have slowed down a little. These leaves are all facing in one direction, but when you randomize their rotation the animation looks appealing. To do that, check rotation, then expand it. Adjust phase to be 1. Then randomize phase all the way to 2. Now if you play animation, you can see the leaves are randomized. Sometimes, you might need objects to go up instead of falling down. That is when you adjust the gravity. In order to adjust gravity, you go to Scene Properties. On Gravity Settings on Z, when the value is 0, objects will just float around. When the value is increased, objects start to go up. The higher the number the faster the objects will rise. And when the value is reduced to be below 0, objects start to fall down. The lower the number, the faster the objects will fall. In this video, we need a value to be negative 0.9. Here, you can see that these leaves fall for some time then disappear. In order to achieve something similar to that, we will go to Particle Properties, then scroll down to Render. Here we will animate the value on scale. Go to frame 20. Set scale to be 0. Record a keyframe by clicking on this little dot. Go to frame 45 and set scale back to 0.5, don't forget to record another keyframe by clicking here. Go to frame 95, don't change scale, just record a keyframe. Go to frame 120, make scale 0 and record a keyframe. If you play the animation you can see that the leaves come in, then disappear after some time. The leaves also need to react when they come in contact with this toothbrush. They need to bounce off, and not going through the object. When the object is still selected, go to Physics Properties, then add Collision. Now if you play animation, you can see leaves bouncing off when they get in contact with the object. We have created a particle system successfully. But these rotating green and white strips need to be added because they are part of the animation. They provide more meaning to the falling leaves. Click in this cylinder, Shift S, then cursor to selected. Add in a cylinder, vertices to be 20, radius to be 0.7, and depth 3.2. Switch to front orthographic, press R, for rotation, then 90. Ctrl R, add loop cut here. Adjust the number of cuts to be 14. Switch to face select mode. Select these loops of faces, and these two faces on the sides as well. Delete the faces. Switch to vertex select mode. Go to local view of this object by pressing the slash key. Toggle X-ray, I have assigned Alt slash to toggle X-ray so that I don't go up here all the time. Press C, for circle select, start selecting a few vertices randomly. The radius of circle select is altered with the mouse wheel. Right-click to get out of circle select. Turn around the object for a different view, circle select and select vertices again. You can turn off X-ray so that you don't select through this object. We need to add randomness by scaling these points. Press period, then the pivot point should be median point. Enable proportional editing, and select random. Now if you scale, you can see the randomness you get. Press period again, this time set pivot to be at individual origins. Scale once more. Select one vertex here. Press L, for select linked. Hover cursor here and press L. Then scale them down. Select this and scale it up. Select this and scale it down, reduce the radius of proportion. You can scale this down as well. Get out of local view of this object by pressing the slash key. Adjust once more in presence of other objects in the scene. Switch to face select mode, and get into local view of this object. Select random faces, at least one face on every loop. Press Ctrl and plus sign to increase selection. Deselect and select a few faces by holding down Shift key while clicking on them. Once you feel okay with the selection, delete faces. Now you have this object full of gaps in it. Tab out of edit mode. Add a solidify modifier to this object and set its thickness to be -0.2, offset to be -1. Add subdivision surface modifier, and reduce render value to 1. Right-click on the object and shade smooth. Get out of local view of this object by pressing the slash key. It's time to animate this object. Firstly, put it in a collection. When it is selected, press M to create a collection. Rename the collection to be rotating. Select that collection, then add an empty object, a cube. Scale down the cube, then apply scale. Select this object first, then select the empty object last, Ctrl P, set parent to object. It is now a child of the empty. Go to frame 20, bring this side panel, and record a keyframe on rotation. Go to frame 120. Edit rotation on the x-axis to be 6000. Then record a keyframe. If you play the animation, you can see this object is spinning around. The next step is to make this spinning object to scale up at the start of emission, and scale down to 0 at the end of the emission. To get that, go to frame 40, on scale, record a keyframe, scale should be 1 on all axes. Go to frame 100, and record a keyframe, again scale should be 1 on all axes. Go to frame 120, set scale on X and Y to be 0, then record a keyframe. Go back to frame 20, set scale on X and Y to be 0, then record a keyframe. If you play the animation you can see how the object is scaling up, then scale back to 0 when the leaves disappear. If you look closely at this animation, you will notice that the purpose of emission of leaves and spinning of this object is to show the deep cleaning process of the teeth. After the leaves and the spinning object disappear, the teeth change color and they become brighter. Make a vertical split here, and change this area to be shader editor. If you click on this tooth, you will see the material setup. Make another horizontal split here. On this panel here, press / key to go into local perspective view of this tooth, then switch to material preview. We are going to animate the colors on the color ramp. Go to frame 40 and zoom into this color ramp. Select this color stop, move cursor to color, here, then press I to record a keyframe. Do the same to other color stops. Go to frame 100, select this color stop, change color by reducing saturation. Select this other color stop, reduce saturation, and also increase its value. Select this last color, and reduce saturation. Now, still at frame 100, record a keyframe on every color stop. If you play the animation, you see that indeed the tooth is changing color. The color is becoming brighter. These spinning strips don't have any assigned materials. On this panel that contain the tooth, get out of local perspective view by pressing / key. Press / key once more, in order to get into local perspective view of the spinning strips. On the shader editors panel, assign to it this toothbrush material. In order to make this object have green and white strips, you need to give it another material. Go to material properties, then add a new material slot, click on new and rename it to white. Tab into edit mode. Select linked, by moving cursor where you want, then press L, then select white material, and go to assign. Change view, select more faces and assign material. You can even move time cursor on the timeline, select more faces and assign them the white material. Tab out of edit mode, you can see how the animation is just fine. Let's look into the bristles. They are also a particle system. They are hairs, emerging from these low poly circular faces. The circular faces have a material that contain a gradient texture, a color ramp and a principled BSDF. On the particle properties, you can see emission is 200. If you want to increase the height of the hairs, scroll down to children and expand it. You can see it is interpolated. Display and render amounts are both 50. Length is here, and you can increase the value to be 0.8. This does not look good. To make them look better, go to roughness and expand it, adjust endpoint to be 0.02. Shape to be 1.5. Now you can see the bristles look better. In this animation, the bristles shorten, then the teeth emerge. That was achieved by animating this length value. The emitter object should not be visible in the final render. In order to hide the emitter object in the final render, on the particle properties, go to render. Then here at show emitter, it should not be checked.